Welcome. My name is Beth Rebarger, and I am the manager of Harper Wellness.
My name is Melanie Duhai, and I am the administrative assistant to the Dean of Students and Club and Organization Liaison.
So today we have a couple of guests with us today from the Hawks Care Resource Center and Counseling Services to talk a little bit about what the Hawks Care Resource Center is and how they provide assistance to our students in a variety of different ways. But before we get into some of the questions that I have today for Vicki Atkinson and Cindy Washburn, who work for Counseling Services and the Hawks Care Resource Center, I think it's really important to note that this has been a really tough year for many people in a variety of different ways, whether it be financially, health-wise, emotional wellness. And so this has been trying times where I obviously have never went through a pandemic, and I know all of you sitting here today, this is your first time as well. So I think it's really important to note that, but I think equally important is to note that we have folks on our campus like Cindy and Vicki who are here to assist and help and provide some information and resources for students who might be struggling, not only now, but hopefully in the future, to provide them with that information to take them from just struggling to hopefully thriving throughout their lifespan. So I'm really excited to sit down with the two of you and talk a little bit about some things that are available for our students. So first off, can you tell us a little bit about Hawks Care Resource Center? Because I know it's moved on campus to your area. So can you tell me a little bit about what that move means for you all?
Cindy, I don't know if this is good. I'll kick it off and then pass to you. But, in the student development area, we work very closely with our partners in student engagement and student involvement. And really building off of the great work last year with the Hawks Care Food Pantry, we realized that we could do more collaboratively to support students, not just with food insecurity, but all of the other things, to your point, Beth, that humans are struggling with right now. And it's a trying time on a lot of levels. And we're seeing students, but also colleagues, people that are just in the Harper family, that are facing challenges that none of us could have anticipated 6 months ago. So I think what we've started to build, that's this kind of blending together of, advising and counseling and social supports and wellness related activities. We're really trying to create a one-stop of support, which couldn't be more difficult when we're doing everything virtually. So I think we're all eager to be back on campus with one another so that we can actually build community in person, but we're doing it anyhow because the need is really great and all the services are virtual and there are a lot of them right now. So really appreciate the time with both of you today to talk about it, but I will pass to Cindy to share some more specific details about what's available. But most importantly, for anyone who's watching this today, whether you're a colleague or a student or just in the community, we're down to do good work and we want to connect and help in any way that we can. And all questions are good ones because we know that collectively we're all hurting on one level or another. And so we're here for you. But Cindy, what are some of those cool things that we do have in place now? Because Beth and Melanie know we're constantly adding more, but what do we have right now?
Yeah, so with Hawks Care moving over to counseling services, we have a great team of our 6 counselors. And when students contact our front desk to schedule a phone appointment, it enables that student to have that one-on-one private conversation with someone who cares, someone who's not there to judge, but really just support, affirm, and connect that individual with additional resources. So our counselors have amazing knowledge about not only the resources available on campus, like technology loans and tutoring. Sometimes it's reconnecting with your assigned academic advisor or getting accommodations put in place. There's a lot of things that our campus offers, and sometimes students, for whatever reason, have either overlooked them or they just weren't aware, or they feel like there's too many barriers. But having that conversation about, how easy it is to access those, how helpful it can be to actually take advantage and use those resources is a huge win for students when they're struggling to juggle everything people are juggling right now. And the other pieces of that are outside of what they're dealing with as students. So, making sure that they have access to food banks or additional resources in the community that are longer term supports for them are really important. And the counselors can, have that conversation, walk them through how to connect with those resources and really talk with them about what makes sense. So rather than a student just feeling like, oh, I have a list of places I need to call and I don't know where to start, that's so overwhelming, especially if you're already struggling. Our counselors have that one-on-one conversation and provide that really critical individual support to connect those students.
If a student were looking for resources outside of the Hawks Care Resource Center purview, what other options are available to them in this COVID-19 pandemic?
There is a lot. So the communities around us in Harper really do have a lot to offer. So things like I had mentioned before, like food pantries, we have a lot of lower cost housing resources. So to help connect folks with affordable housing or prevent them from being evicted or losing their homes. There's a ton of great agencies in the area. And we know that, Harper as a campus does so much to support our students and to just take care of all of us in general, but we know that we can't do it all. And I think the other important thing is that Harper also knows and expects, I love how Vicki talks about Harper as a family. And if we think about what a family and what parents do, it's really empowering their people and their members to flourish no matter where they go, right? Strong roots give wings. So we want to make sure that students are able to access resources even after their time as a student. We don't want them to feel like they have to stay at Harper when, we know that they'll grow better elsewhere. So a lot of those community supports and even statewide programs, things like SNAP, child care assistance subsidy, there's so many things, and we want students to be able to focus on being students. And that's where the counselors can take all that information, learn from that student about what they need, and really purposefully connect them to some of those other resources.
Yeah.
And it sounds like when
things get yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I was just going to add that I think, there's a level of exhaustion right now for students that are in need. And if there's anything that we can do to try and ease some of that, who do I call, what's available, Cindy and the counselors are constantly kind of curating the list of what's available. We work really closely with our women's program partners because they have a 50-year history in the community of doing a lot of this good work. And it's not just for the women's program, it's all students, many of those resources. So just wanted to add, that's a burden we'll bear. We just need students to trust that they can reach out to us and we'll do our absolute best. Sorry, Beth.
You took the words right out of my mouth of what I was going to say, is that it sounds like you all really are the folks where if a student doesn't know where to start and maybe they are struggling, whether it be financially, food insecurity, emotionally, that perhaps it is you all connecting them with some other resources, but they don't have to do that alone, that you all are here to help them navigate and better understand what that looks like and better understand what resources might best fit their needs. And so I think that's really important, that a student isn't alone. They don't have to go online and Google themselves all these resources, that you can just serve as that first contact, and that can make it seem hopefully a little less overwhelming and a little less of a burden. So I think that's really important in what you were talking about, Vicki.
Yeah, and I think, one of the misconceptions sometimes when people are invested in doing this work is that we know we're not superheroes and we can't do it all. And so one really recent example is partnering with our friends in the Job Placement Resource Center. We build the networks and the connections to tap students into things that can be short-term or long-term, life-changing, connections and opportunities. And so, we're not trying to be a student's sole source of support. that's not what we're doing. But, you know, what can we do to make a difference for you right now, that may bridge you to some level of stability, you know, give you what you need. But we can't do everything, and we're not intending to. But every time we get resources, whether it's from our foundation, from the college overall, we hustle to make sure that we can turn that around as quickly as possible to be, you know, directly benefiting students.
And lastly, Vicki, if you could tell students a little bit about maybe some of those COVID-19 resources, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we are in this strange pandemic. So not only are the struggles that students might normally face, but then, we have maybe those health or those COVID-19 issues on top of that. So can you tell me a little bit more about where a student could go to find out more information?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So I think, our team from marketing and communications, there is a COVID response team with senior leaders at the college. There is a tremendous effort every week to keep the resources that are on the COVID advisory page for students as up to date as possible. And that includes resources, but it also includes information about how students can be safe, how to follow the screening protocols as students come to campus, how to monitor themselves, and also to arm students with information from the Cook County Department of Public Health, from the CDC. And so our communications team and marketing, they've done an amazing job keeping this webpage fresh and up to date. So if any of you who are watching are like, well, I don't know where to go to the homepage, search COVID. And the rest of it, it's all there. And I think there are great resources there. But again, to Cindy's point before, there isn't a substitute sometimes for knowing that you can reach out to someone, on an individual level. So Cindy, I don't know if you wanted to mention there's an email alias for students about COVID concerns. So I'll pass to you.
Yeah, you're right, Vicki, there is. So we do have an email that's monitored. It's studentcovidconcerns@harpercollege.edu. So no space, all lowercase, student COVID concerns, that students can reach out. But genuinely, a lot more students are reaching out to their assigned advisor or faculty member. I think to your point, Vicki, about how isolated some individuals are feeling, there's no substitute for human contact. So if you genuinely don't know where to start student COVID concerns at Harper, or Hawks Care at Harper, or counseling at Harper, and I think if I didn't mention it before, I should mention it very specifically, that our counselors are providing wonderful support and services to students, not only in the moment when they need it, but also helping connecting them to longer term mental health counseling if they should be looking for that or need that in the community as well.
Yeah, and watch this space, because as we continue to be remote and virtual, we want to put more tools in students' hands. And so we'll be providing some additional tools and some really amazing self-service, holistic wellness tools coming in the next couple of months. So maybe Melanie and Beth, you'll invite us back when we have more to say about that, maybe.
Well, Vicki and Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today. And we can't wait to hear about all of those up and coming resources. And thank you for all that your area is doing to support our students.
Well, thank you, Melanie and Beth. We are blessed to have great colleagues around us, right, Cindy?
Absolutely.